Hey guys! Thanks for joining me again for another Pixie Talks review vlog.
Pixie Talks, reviews and vlogs at Pixie Talks. Pixie Talks, reviews and vlogs at Pixie Talks.
Woo! Today's review is as requested by patron Aficionados Chris. Check out his YouTube. He does a lot of DVD and Blu-ray reviews as well as a lot of animation reviews that are really fun. And he won the raffle to choose the subject of this week's review. Remember, I am taking suggestions from the audience over at Patreon, so if you would like to see me review something specific, get in on that raffle. And so, this week's review is an anime classic, Cowboy Bebop.
I think it's time to blow this scene. Get everybody in the stuff together. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's jam.
Cowboy Bebop is one of those shows that is held up by anime fans as a shining example of the medium, and it's not hard to see why. As I did my rewatch of this in preparation for this video, I was struck by just how charming all of the characters are. They feel realistic, they feel natural and organic. They interact with each other in a way that feels regular, like real people, albeit people with messy lives and dark pasts. I would actually compare it to Firefly in a lot of ways, as the setting is rather similar, and just the level of really engaging, realistic feeling character interaction is spot on. The show follows a bounty hunter named Spike and his merry little band. It's an episodic series, each episode covering a day in the life of the group as they go after different on-the-run criminals. Over the course of the series, more information is revealed about their characters, their pasts, and their personalities. Now, it's easy to see why this is a go-to for introducing people who have not watched anime before to anime. Its stylistic leanings and narrative structures are all very, well, American. It's just a very Western-feeling show, which is fairly atypical of anime. Because of that, it honestly doesn't feel, narratively speaking, like an anime in a lot of ways, which is not necessarily a good or bad thing. But it does make it a lot more accessible to American audiences. One thing that really stuck out to me over my rewatch of this show is just how slower paced it is than I remember. Don't get me wrong, it's got a lot of action. It's a space western with a lot of spaceship chases and gun battles. But it's also just kind of mellow in atmosphere and really takes its time meandering around with its characters. It's not in a rush to tell its stories. It's more moody and thoughtful, which really gives it kind of a unique vibe. I've watched a lot of anime since I originally saw this, and very few other shows are anything like it. Now, this is an older series, and the artwork certainly does reflect that. It looks like a 90s anime. It's got that really distinctly retro feeling. I happen to really like the look and feel of 90s anime, personally, and it's probably one of the best examples of top-tier 90s anime in terms of art quality and animation quality. A lot of the quieter scenes have limited animation, but it absolutely shines in the action scenes with its lovingly rendered sequences and smooth movement. The characters have all become fairly iconic as well. It's hard to find a main character that embodies the smooth, cool guy archetype as well as Spike, but he is actually really well fleshed out. The show goes into a lot of depth with his backstory and motivations, and it doesn't shy away from delving into some fairly heavy and dark subjects. Spike is brooding, but still fun and cool. He's angsty, but still smooth. That's a pretty hard balance to strike, but the show handles it actually really well. Many shows since have tried to use this archetype to much less successful degrees. Faye also stands out to me as an iconic kind of character. She's in a long-standing tradition of morally gray anime ladies out for her own gain. She occupies both a kind of femme fatale role as well as oftentimes damsel in distress, and she's overall quite fun to watch and well fleshed out as a character. Now, this is a show from the 90s, so at times the show's relationship to gender roles, as well as how Faye in particular is written, tend to be a little less than progressive, but considering its era, she's pretty darn cool. Cowboy Bebop feels like an animated western, and it's got a lot of style, but never so much that it feels like it's style over substance. Between its cowboy sci-fi aesthetic, its pensive pacing, and its smooth, jazzy blues soundtrack, it's easy to see why this is an easier sell to Western audiences than a lot of other anime titles. It's also just incredibly well put together and well written. And I was a little worried going into this video because I had to rewatch it. I haven't seen it in many, many years, but I'm happy to say that it stands up to the test of time without aging poorly. It well deserves its status as an anime classic, and if you have not seen it yet, you really should give it a watch. And that was my review of Cowboy Bebop. Thank you to Aficionados Chris for requesting it. And remember, if you want to see me review something specific or just really like my content and would like to support me, please go and check out the Patreon page. And with that, I will see you next week. Bye!